I'm Connor Hopkins, Head of Business Planning and Reporting at Western Power. And for a bit of context, Western Power owns and operates the transmission and distribution electricity network, or grid, here in the southwest of Western Australia. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is that transformation journey, the finance transformation, and how do you enable the skill set for the xP&A business partnering, or that extended business partnering in your business. So I chose a quote today that I think speaks to something that's really important for any transformation or any deployment of new technology in a business, because the successful implementation, I feel, really depends on not the technology itself, but the people and the mindsets that you have in the business that are going to be using that technology. And a key characteristic for me, for any successful partnering with that, is curiosity and the confidence to ask questions. And that's why I chose this quote by Albert Einstein. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. So how do we help nurture and enable that curiosity or ability to question in our people to help them along to become successful xP&A business partners? So what I wanted to focus on is the type of investment that you might want to put into helping your people with that. And on the next slide, I'll talk to the balance of the investment that you'd probably want to consider. And it's definitely will help manage the change. So for any transformation, there is a big mix of investment between time, effort, resources, and your dollars. And from my experience, you really want to be weighting that, as you can see from the graphic here, towards your people. Whether that's the time or when you actually start investing in your people, you really need to be focusing on that. And it's not to say that the technology is not an important part of that. It's, as you can see from the prior slides, embracing the technology to change and free up our people from the shackles of spreadsheets at month end is really, really important. We need to remove that mundane task of repetitive and manual report writing at month end, because it isn't value add and it's not really where we want our people to be. We want them to be out with the business and partnering with them. But new technology is not going to be the key to any success in a transformation. And it's usually because your workforce and their mindset is not moving at the same pace as you may be changing with your technology. So we know changing position descriptions and titles doesn't change the person. I think we've probably all been there, where one day we were an analyst and the next day we're finance partners. But do we really, really understand what it is to be a finance partner and what we need to do to go out to the business and be successful as it? And most of the time, we don't. And if we're leading through a transformation, we need to know how to help our people along with that. And in fact, if you can get your people to be part of the transformation and on the journey of implementing the new processes and technology, you'll actually build a lot more buy-in and increase trust as well. So what sort of approach can you take to helping people along with that and with the training? So on the next slide, I'll just talk to you briefly about some of the things you might want to think about when you're looking at that investment and where to focus your training. So again, remember, it's systems don't change the people, it's people who change the systems. So if you think about it, if you throw a lot of new technology at people and new processes at them and you don't support them, it's kind of like giving them the keys to the car, but they don't know how to drive. You could be setting them up for a crash and they'll lose a lot of confidence. So you will be pushing people out of their comfort zone when you're setting them out on a journey of learning and transformation and training. And you need to be appreciative that you're asking them to change what they've always known or what they've always done. And they might not be comfortable with that at all. In fact, to some of them, it often means that they won't embrace the change and they'll be resistant to it. And that will also hamper your transformation. So there's a few things that I thought would be good to focus on. And I've put them here. I won't have time to go through all of them. But one of the things that you can think about and start thinking about changing straight away and using straight away are knowledge sharing sessions, because they don't really cost much either to invest in it. And this is where you can get your teams to actually share knowledge with each other. It's where they present back to each other about something that they do in their day-to-day jobs. It could be where they've improved a process and they play it back as to how they did it. And the double win about this is that people practice their presentation skills, they learn from each other, and they learn how to give constructive and supportive feedback to each other. And what that leads to is greater confidence, credibility, and particularly, like I said, confidence when they go out to the business that what they're presenting has been peer tested, and they can be confident that they're actually going out with the right information. And it makes a huge difference to them. So that's one element you can think of. It's also something that's really useful when you're starting with a new visualization tool as well, when you can practice with each other and test your ideas out on each other. But one thing to think about too is when you're looking at where to focus your training, is understand where those gaps might be with your people. It could be in soft skills, could be in the technical skills, or it could just be plain in the business knowledge, a knowledge about the business itself. So it's something to think about. But I suppose one thing we're now thinking about, well, what are the benefits of all this? Why should we be thinking about all this investment in our people? So one of the key benefits of investing in people is you will end up with very high-performing individuals. And high-performing individuals tends to lead to high-performing organizations. But what you will end up with the workforce that has a really, really strong skill set mix. They'll have a background probably in accounting and finance. They'll have an ability in analytics, knowledge of big data, how to use it and how to visualize it. Crucially, they'll know how to tell the story to the business. They'll have built really strong relationships across the business, and they'll know how to negotiate and influence as well. And that is a really, really powerful combination. And because of that, you have a very, very employable and transferable skill set. Engaged and motivated people. But the main thing for me is it means that they'll be really highly sought after from within the business. And this is what gets you the seat at the table with the discussions and helps open up the discussions. The other thing, and it's probably a benefit on both sides, is that through those networks that your finance partners are going to be developing and creating, it opens up masses of opportunity for them. And I've actually had it now in my function. There's 3 people who have been able to take opportunities in the last month for new roles within the organisation, whether it be commercial, in our governance and assurance, or out in the operations area. And you might think that that's not great, but it is really what you want because it keeps building the networks. And particularly from the finance area, it builds the networks. And that is really what is the key to transforming from finance also being rather than being the back office function, from actually going out and co-piloting with the business. So I guess I'll just leave you with one thing. When you're embarking on your transformation journey, have a really, really clear scope and goal of what you're seeking to transform. Is it your processes and procedures and technology? Or is it actually the mindset of your people? Because if you just focus on the former, you could be missing out on a key component that will guarantee the success of your finance transformation. Thank you.